Hello and welcome to my pre-algebra review series. This video covers Chapter 6, Section 6, titled Proportions and Percents. By the end of this section, you will have reviewed the procedures for finding part of a whole, finding a percent, and finding the whole amount, and ending with a real-world problem. Please leave a like if you find this video to be helpful. Give your classmates a heads up too. It will more than likely help them, and it certainly will help this channel to be seen by more students. If you'd like me to cover any of these topics in greater detail, please leave a comment here in the comment section below. I read them and do my best to answer each as time permits. Please subscribe to my channel and ring the bell icon to be notified every time I release a new video. Thank you. So let's get into it. Okay, Objective 1, finding part of a whole. Well, it says, you can solve a percent problem by solving a proportion. A model can help you write a proportion. This model shows that 30 is 75% of 40. And it is kind of interesting. You can see it. It's clear that if you look at this model, both sides of this model are showing 0 at the top. And each hash mark, each line right here, here's 1, here's 1. As you're going down, you can see that this is 75 here, so this would be 50, this would be 25, so it's dividing these into 4 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the right-hand side, we start at 0, and we get to 10, 20, 30, and 40. Well, the proportions here they're talking about, written right down here in these fractions, and as you can see the line going across right through the center here, makes these two equal, that 75% of 100, or 75 over 100, 75 over 100 is the same as, looking at the right-hand side, 30 over 40. 30 over 40. And that is your proportion. And it would work out just fine. So we don't have a problem with it because this is exactly what we're looking to do. So this is a proportion. 75%, that's what this stands for here on the left, is equal to 30 over 40, which is also 75%. They're both the same. Okay, example 1, finding part of a whole. Find 65% of 245. Well, let's take a look. So we have the model here on the right, and we can see, just like in this previous slide, we start at 0 on the top, both of us, both the right and left-hand side, and you come down and it's showing us where 65% is relative to the 100% at the bottom. 65% is right here. Well, they want to know in this question, what is n parts of 245? We want to know what n is. Well, we know there's 65 over 100. We know that is equal to n over 245. So we're going to write an equation. And that equation is going to say, I'm going to write it this way. N divided by 245 is equal to 65 over 100. So we matched them up. The n and the 65 is the piece we're measuring. You can see the 65 is the piece we're measuring. It's saying 65% of this, whatever the whole thing is, and it says here the whole part is 245. 245 is 100%. Okay, so n and the 65 are the same. So when we write them over here as a proportion, we have the n in the numerator and 65 in the numerator. We have the 245 in the denominator and the 100 in the denominator. In order to solve this, we could do a couple things. We could use the cross product, that was method 2 from an earlier slide, or we can use method 1, which is just solve the problem by doing multiplication, which is multiplying both sides by 245. Okay, so I would say that we can do either one, but I'll go ahead and multiply both sides by 245. So we have 245 times n over 245 is equal to 65 over 100 times 245. So if we do our cancellation, we're going to find here that 245 on this side cancels, and we're left with n. And on this other side, if we take 65 times 245 and divide by 100, we end up with, I looked it up on the calculator, 159.25. And that's the answer. So n is equal to 159.25 of the whole. If the whole is 245, n is 159.25. Just like 65% is relative to the 100%, 65% of 245 is equal to 159.25. Okay, example 1, check your understanding. Draw a model and write the proportions, then solve these 3 problems. Well, why don't you go ahead and stop the video, and when you get back, we'll do them together. I've already drawn out the little models for you so that you can be easier for you to fill them in on your own if you're going to do it. Okay, now that you're back, let's go ahead and do A. So A says 25% of 124. Well, that's saying that the whole, here we have 100 on the left. We get down here, 100 is on the left. Well, that's the whole piece, 100%. These are the percents. This is percent on the left, okay? So 124 is on the right. 124 is the whole piece. So they want to know what 25% of 124 is. Well, 25%, these are quarters. These lines here are 1/4 of the whole piece, 1/4. So each one of these is a quarter. That means that this is 25% right here, right? We all know that because this is 50% and this is 75%. Okay, and here's 100% on the bottom. So 25% is right here. So the number we're looking for is this one right here, and we're going to call it n. Because I don't know what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve it. We're going to write the proportion. We're going to write it with n on the top. So I'm going to say n divided by the whole, the piece, the portion we're looking for, the n part, over the whole item, over 124, is equal to 25 over 100. 25 over 100. Okay, and in order to solve this, we're going to use the method where we're going to multiply both sides by 124 to get the n by itself. That's what we're trying to do. So n by itself is going to be 124. N over 124 is equal to 25 over 100 times 124. These two cancel. N ends up being equal to 1/4 of 124. I guess we could look at it that way, or we could multiply 124 times 25 and divide by 100. However you do it with your calculator, more than likely with your calculator, you're going to find that the answer is 31. So 31 is what n is equal to, and n, 31 to 124 is the same as 25 is to 100. Okay, your next problem. It says 43% of 230. So 230 is we're gonna do the whole numbers on the right hand side, and that's at the bottom down here, 230. Okay, that is 43% of that amount is what we're looking for. Well, we know the percentages go on the other side, so 100% of the whole item is here. So 100% is equal to 230. Well, we know that we're going to put n on this side. We don't know where it's going to come in at, but we want 43% of it. And the percentages go on the left-hand side. So 40, and that's only because I drew it that way. It could have been on the right-hand side. But 43%, if this is 50% right here, we're going to say that 43% is somewhere a little bit above it, somewhere in there, right? And then if I draw that line across, let's say that's 43%. Okay, so what we want to find is the n value. What is 43% of 230? Well, as before, I'll do this again. I'll put the n on the top, divided by 230 is equal to 43 over 100. And in order to solve for n, we're going to multiply both sides by 230. 230 times n over 230 is equal to 43 over 100 times 230. And if we carry the math out, we're going to find out that these cancel, the 230s. On the left-hand side, we end up with n equals 43 times 230 divided by 100. And when we do that, we'll find that the answer is 98.9. You're going to use your calculator to solve that. 98.9 is the solution to that one. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing in C. 12.5% of 80. So 80 is the of part, which means it's the whole item, just like we've been doing. I'm going to put the item numbers, the whole numbers on the right. So 80 is down here on the bottom, and 100% is opposite it. So 80 is 100% of the whole item. And they want to know what 12.5% of the whole item is. Well, 12.5% is going to be, this is 25%. 12.5 is going to be right here in the middle. 12.5 is right there. 12.5. That goes right across the middle of this block here. And that's where n lives. We want to know what that piece is relative to 80. So what is 12.5% of 80? So let's write it out. We're going to do n over 80, because it's n parts out of the whole 80, is equal to 12.5 divided by 100. And as we've been doing, I'm going to multiply both sides by 80 to get rid of the denominator of 80 with the n, because we want to get the n in the numerator by itself. So we're going to say 80 over, I can do that, over 80 times n is equal to 12.5 over 100 times 80. I just moved the 80 across from the left-hand side to the right. So now I'm left with n is equal to 12.5 times 80 divided by 100, and we'll find that that is equal to 10. N is equal to 10. Okay. So, that's it. We're all done with that one. Okay, so in this problem, example 2, it says finding a percent. So what percent of 60 is 52? And it says round to the nearest tenth of a percent. Okay, so this is just like the other problem, except now the n is going with the percent that 52 is of the whole item 60. So as you see with our diagram, they've already got it diagrammed out for it from 0 to 100% and 0 to 60 on the right-hand side. And they've put in the 52 right here. It's 52. That's what we know. We want to know what percent right here. What percent? Can I change the color? Show it better. What percent right here is the, I'm going to play a different, I'm going to do that even a little better. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to do 80, 100 again. Let's see. What percent right there? Draw that arrow a little better. There, how's that? What percent of 60 or 52 over 60 is the n part that we're looking for? So we're going to write the same type of equation. Only this time it's going to be, n's going to go with 100. So we're going to say n divided by 100 is equal to 52 over 60. So we kept the whole piece numbers on the right-hand side and the percentage pieces on the left-hand side. So now what we do is we multiply both sides by 100 to get the n by itself. And we do that, we say 100 times n over 100. And that's equal to 52 over 60 times 100. Okay, and then when we do that, the 100s cancel, and we end up with n equals 68, I think. Let's see, look at these numbers here. 86.7. Of course, you have to use your calculator to come up with that. And the way I'm doing these videos is I can't get a calculator onto the screen. In the future, I'm going to have that capability. Right now, I do not. So I'll be changing up the way I create these videos. Anyways, so rounded to the nearest tenth of a percent, it's 86.7%. Okay, that's the answer here. Okay, example 2, check your understanding. So as we know, this is your part to shine on, if you'd like. It says round to the nearest tenth, and let's solve these. It doesn't say you have to draw the model. It might help you if you needed to, but you can do it without it. But why don't you go ahead and stop the video, give them a shot. When you come back, we'll work on them. Okay, now I'm assuming you've stopped it. You've got the right answers, and we're going to check it right here. So it says round to the nearest tenth. What percent of 250 is 138? Well, what percent of 250? Well, that means 250 is the whole amount. So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to say 250. Okay? And 138 is the number that we know that goes with the 250. So that's going to be the numerator part, 138. Well, then that says we're going to make this equal to, okay, an n value, right, or a p. Let's do p for percent. So we're going to use, we want to know what percent is the 138 over 250. So the p is on the top. That's the piece. And of course we know it's on the bottom because it's 100%. So it's a 100%. So p over 100%. So what part of 100 is p relative and proportional to 138 over 250? So let's carry that out. We're going to do p. I'm going to multiply both sides by 100. I'll just say 100 times p over 100 is equal to 138 over 250. So what that means, times 100. You have to multiply both sides times by the 100. This side cancels. We end up with p equals 138 times 100 over 250. And p therefore equals, and as I said, I don't have a calculator that I can show you, but we're going to go ahead and you've done it with the calculator, and we know the answer is 55.2. Okay, and that's percent. 55.2%. Rounded to the nearest tenth. Okay? So let's do B. Again, this is 14 is what percent of 15? Well, 15, the of 15 means that's the whole, right? So we're going to say 14 is what percent of 15? So when you divide 14 by 15, we're going to end up with a percentage. That's what that really means. So we're going to go ahead and that equals what? Well, we know always that when you're doing percentages, unless they say something different in the problem, which they wouldn't probably, it's over 100. Well, if it's over 100, the only thing that's left is to find the p. It says what percent of 15? So as before, we're going to multiply both sides by 100. So we're going to say p over 100 times 100. That will get rid of the denominator of 100 here, and we'll leave us with p. And then on the left-hand side, we're going to have 100 times 14 over 15. So I multiply both sides are multiplied by 100. Well, this is easy at this part because we're just going to cross the hundreds out, and we're going to be left with p, and p is going to be equal to 100 times 14 divided by 15. And if you do that, you're going to come up with 93.3%. Okay? I hope you got them that way yourselves. Okay, objective 2, finding the whole amount. Sometimes you know the percent that a part represents, and you want to find the whole amount. For example, your class fundraising committee might announce, we collected to $207 so far, which is 46% of our goal. Can you use a proportion, or you can use a proportion to calculate the goal? So let's see what happens with this as we move on. Example 3, finding the whole amount. 207 is 46% of what number? Okay, this is what we talked about in the previous slide. Now we've got the model in front of us, and we can see how this works. Let's take a look at it. 207 is 46% of what? Well, we know from our previous slides that the percent number, unless it says 100%, right here, 100%, we know that it's going to be 46 over 100. That's just a given. We almost know that. And now they're asking, 207 is 46 of what whole number? Of the whole number. So that's going to mean that we're going to have a fraction here, and we're going to say 207 is the part we know, but we don't know the whole. And what is the whole part? Call that W. And that's what we see here. Oh, they did an N in the video. Well, I'll change it to an N. We'll stay consistent. So we're going to change this to an N. And we're going to have, oops, get my pen back. Come on. Change it to an N, okay? So that's it. I mean, you can see the model. They're showing you the 0 to 100%. It's always that way in the model. And 0 to N, in this case, or the whole, 0 to the whole amount. And what do we know? Do we know the whole amount, or do we just know the fractional part? Or do we just know the percentage of the fraction percentage, or we know the whole percentage? We always know the whole percentage, generally. So you see here, this is the model drawn up. In order to solve that, we're going to solve for n. In order to solve for n, we're going to have to do some multiplying. Well, I want to show you something else we could have done. To make this easier, I'm going to rewrite it right next to it. Instead of doing 46 over 100 and 207 over n, how about if I say 100, flip the whole thing upside down, 100 over 46 is equal to n over 207. I can do that. Exactly the same thing. But now I only have one multiplication to do. When I do that, on this one here, I'm going to multiply 207 times 100 over 46 is equal to n over 207 times 207. The 207s cancel, and we end up with 207 times 100 is 20,700 divided by 46, and that equals n. And so what do we get here? We end up with, let me pause, and I'm going to go ahead and get the calculator going here. Okay, when I go to my calculator, I find out that n over here is equal to 450. 450. So now let's do it this way. It's going to be a little longer, but you're going to see it's worked out to be the same number. So here I have to multiply both sides by n to get the n in the numerator. So I'm going to say n times 46 over 100 is equal to 207 over n times n. The n's cancel because I'm getting rid of the n's on the right hand side. I'm moving n to the left hand side. So now it's 46n over 100. 46n over 100 is equal to 207. So now I'm going to multiply both sides by 100. So 100 times 46n over 100 is equal to 207 times 100. Okay, and the hundreds cancel, and I have 46n is equal to 20700. And then to get the n by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 46. 46. And if you look at this equation here, you're going to see that this equation right here is equal to this one right here, or this fraction is identical. And the 46's here cancel, so I get n equals that amount, and I have n equals that same amount. And they both equal n equals 450. 450. Okay, hope that didn't confuse anybody, but I just want to let you know that you can write these and flip the fractions upside down. If it'll put you, when you're writing it, if it puts the n on top, when normally it was going to be on the bottom, you can flip both sides, flip them over, and you can solve the problem that way. And it saves a little bit of mathematics. As you can see, I did this in 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. This was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 steps. So it saved a few steps. Anyways, hope that made sense to you. Okay, example 3, check your understanding. Round to the nearest tenth. So I'll wait for you. Problem A, 19 is 75% of what number? It's the same kind of thing we just did. 19 is a percentage of some unknown number. So that's the whole amount. 19 is a percentage of a whole amount. 19 over that whole amount. It's just like the fraction we just did. And I'm going to write it that way. I'm going to show you. I'm going to start off by writing 19 over n is equal to 75 over 100. We always know that that's how the percentage goes. Well, I'm going to flip it over to make it easier on myself. I'm going to say n over 19 is equal to 100 over 75. So do you see I flipped both of them? Boom, boom, both fractions got flipped over. It was 19 over n, now it's n over 19. You do both of them that way. 75 over 100 is now 100 over 75. And look at the n right now is on top. So all I have to do is multiply by 19. And 19 times n over 19 equals 100 over 75 times 19. The 19s cancel, n equals 100 times 19 over 75. And that equals what? N then equals 1900 divided by 75. And if you run that through your calculator, you'll end up with 25.3. N equals 25.3. That's rounded to the nearest tenth. Okay? Now let's do B. 310 is 99% of what number? Well, I know right away that I'm going to say 99% of 100, 99 over 100. And it says 310 is this percentage. So that means that the relationship is between the 99 and the 310. So the 310 goes here on top over what's missing. What number? I'm going to say n. N for number. So this is the same as problem A. And we could do it the long way. We could multiply n on both sides and then multiply 100 on both sides and then divide. Or we can do what I said earlier, is there's nothing to prevent you from putting the n on top, flipping both equations. 310 equals 100 over 99. You can write them either way. Okay? So I'm going to say multiply both sides by n. I don't have to, multiply both sides by 310. So 310 times n over 310 is equal to 100 over 99 times 310. Oops, 310. The 310s cancel. I get an n, and add equals 310 times 100 is 31. No, 31,000. 31,000. Oh, what did that come from? 0, 0, 0. 31,000. Okay, divided by 99. So that equals 313.1. If you run it on your calculator, n equals 313 times 1.1. Okay? So example 3, check your understanding. I'm going to go ahead and redo the slide in the other, without flipping the fraction like I showed you. And I'm going to do it that way, just in case you did it the other way and we're having trouble. I just dawned on me that maybe I shouldn't jump ahead and be flipping like that when you're doing it the way we originally learned it, and now you don't understand the way I followed. So let's just try it the standard way. So again, the same problem. 19 is 75% of what number? So the 75% goes on the top, 75% over 100. And we're going to say 19 is equivalent, is the 75%. 19 is 75%. So that means that the 19 is on top because they relate. 19 is to the 75 as 100 is to some number n. Okay, now we're going to carry this math out. So we're going to move the n to the right-hand side. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply by n. N times 19 over n is equal to 75 over 100 times n. The n's cancel on this side, and we'll end up with the n on the right-hand side. So now we have 19 is equal to 75 over 100 times n. So now I'm going to move the 100 to the left-hand side. And I guess I could, well, I'm not sure exactly how you did it, but we've also already learned how you can multiply by the reciprocal of the coefficient, right? We can the coefficient of n is 75 over 100. So we're going to multiply by both sides by the reciprocal of that coefficient. And that is, I'm going to write it right here. I'm going to say 100 over 75 times 19 is equal to 75 over 100 n times 100 over 75. So the 100 over 75 is the reciprocal of our 75 over 100. And then we multiply both sides by that. So that means that these hundreds right here are going to cancel. I'm going to change colors so you can see it more easily. These right here, these cancel, and the 75s cancel. So we ended up with an n on this side, and on this side it's 1900 divided by 75. And if we divide 1900 by 75, we're going to get an n value equal to 25.3. Oh, yeah, it's 25.3. So let's do the other one. B. 300 is 99% of what number? This is exactly the same form as A, problem A. So I'm going to write the 99%. I'll do it right here. I'll say 99% over 100% is equal to, and the 310 is equal to the 99, is equal to 310 over n, that number. So as before, I'm going to move this, I think I'm going to shift this over a little bit here. I'm going to say that I'm going to multiply both by n. So I'm going to say n times 310 over n is equal to 99 over 100 times n. Because I have to multiply both sides by the n. I'm going to change colors. Both sides have to be multiplied by the n. Okay? And when we do that, these n's cancel, and we're left with the n on this side, and the 310 remains here, so it's 310 is equal to 99 over 100 times n. Well, as we did in this previous example, we could go through multiplying both sides by 100 and then multiply and dividing both sides by 99, or we can just multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the coefficient, and here's the coefficient, right here is the coefficient of n. We can multiply by the inverse of that, or the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of this is 100 over 99, 100 over 99 times 310 is equal to 99 over 100 times n times 100 over 99. Both sides need to be multiplied by the 100 over 99. That's how you clear them out. That's how you clear them out of this side. In order to undo this mathematics on this side, undo it means to remove it, get it back to a previous state where we have just the n. We have to multiply both sides. So when we do that, these cancel. The 100 cancels with this 100. The 99 cancels that 100, and I'm ended up with an n. Right there, n. And over here on this side, we have 310 times 100, which is 31,000 over 99. And when we take this and do this multiplication, we find out that n is equal to 313.1 right there. You'll find that those are the exact same answers as before. Okay, and that's maybe is how you worked it, so that'll help you. And remember, if you have any problems with anything we're doing here, stop the video, go back and watch it again. Watch it until you understand it. You say, oh yes, I understand what my problem was. And then move on. That'll be a major hurdle for you. You put another coin in your cap, so to speak. Okay? Good. Okay, example 4, real-world problem solving. So let's go through this together. It says, so in the year 2000, the number of drive-in movie theater screens in the United States was about 78% of the number in 1990. So what that's telling us, right, is that now there are fewer now, because in 2000 there were 78% of what it was in 1990. How many screens were there in 1990? Well, what we have now is we have a percentage, so to speak, right? So we have 78%. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do 78% over 100 is equal to, so there's our 78%. And what was that? What is the number on the bottom here? So the number on the bottom is 78% of the 1990 numbers, right? So the 1990 numbers is what we're trying to find. So that's going to be the number on the bottom, right? And the number that we in 2000 was the number where we are now. So this 78% is where we are now based on what it was in 1990. So we have 717 right here. What we have now is 717. That's what we have now. 717 is the 78%. In 2000, the number of drive-in movie screens in the United States was about 78% of the number. And we said before that the of the number is the bottom number. The bottom number is what we want to find. So we're going to say n down here. So this is just as now the same as the screen before and the slide before that. We're going to go ahead and we can run this or run it like we did, or we can flip it. I'm going to say let's flip it. So I'm going to go 100. I'm flipping both of them over 78 is equal to n over 717. And why did I flip it? Do you remember? Because the n is on the bottom here, and I want the n on the top. So I just flipped them both. And I proved to you in those last two slides that you can do that. Just flip them over, if that'll put your n on top. And unless the teacher, your instructor, says you must put and leave the n on the bottom, well, that's okay. You can do that too. It just takes a few more steps. little more multiplying and dividing. But now we can just multiply one time, which is 717 on both sides. So now I have 717 over, times 100 over 78. And that equals n over 717 times 717. Oops, 717. And now that we've done that, the 717s cancel out, and we have 717, so it's 71,700 over 78. And that equals n, which is right here. And I'm going to carry it this way. And then that would equal 71,700 by 78 is going to be 919. And I know we use our calculators here because I don't expect you to do long division on this. So there's the solution to that problem. It's 919. Okay, example 4, check your understanding. Refer to table in example 4. Well, the important number in there is going to be the 717 screens. If you want to back up your video, you can see that screen again. But it literally says in the year 2000, there were 717 screens. And what this problem is asking for is how many screens were there in 1980? Because right now, the 717 screens that are in 2000 is 20.1% of the number that was way back in 1980. So you're going to work on this on your own, and you're going to come back. And when you go off to work on this, you can look at this key concept guide at the bottom. They're talking about 3 different ways of processing these percents and proportions. And we can see that if you're trying to find the percent, that's in this case n here, where n is we're finding the percent of 100, 15%, 33%, 20%, whatever, is 6 over some number, 6 over 40, or 15 over 105, or whatever it is. The parts per the whole. Now here they're trying to find out what percentage that is. Well, you divide. How do we do that? We divide the numerator by the denominator. The 6 in this case divided by 40. And you'd end up with some percentage. Whatever that is, I don't know. I'm not doing the math on it. So what number is the other part is find the part. Well, finding the part is finding this upper piece here, right up in here where this n is. This is the part you're trying to find. Where we have, it says it's 15% of 40. So 15%, we write the 15% as 15 over 100, like we've always done. And the 40, this 15% is, n is 15% of, remember the of part, 40 is the bottom number in this case. So that's when we're trying to find the upper number. That's not the same as when I tell you to flip them. You write the equation correctly and then flip both of them. You can't flip one or the other. But let's not talk about that now. The other method is what we're doing here, is finding the whole. So this is what it says in the year 2000, the drive-in screens were 20% of the whole. So a percent of the whole. The whole was the amount there were in 1980. So the 717 is a part of the whole that there were in 1980. And this says the percentage times the number that we know over the number we don't know. The part over the whole. So you figured out from which one you're going to be using. When you come back, we'll do it. Okay, now that you're back, I'm sure you've selected correctly. I think we're going to use the finding the whole, the last section down here at the bottom. We're going to use this section here to solve our problem. And we're going to write it. We're going to say, with the 15 over 100, I always told you that when you look at the percentage, it's always going to be that number over 100 when you write it. So I'm going to come way over here to have room. I'm going to say 20.1 over 100. That's the easy part. Now, the other thing says that 20% is what? Of the number of screens back in 1980. So that means it's the number that we know, which is the 20.1%, that's the 717. over n, the number of screens we don't know. The number of screens, so the total number of screens was this n number, and now today there are fewer screens because we see the percentage. The number that we used to have is now there's 20% of the number we used to have. Okay, so now we're going to solve this. We're going to multiply both sides by n. Okay, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to say n times 20.1 over 100 is equal to 717 divided by n times n. The n's cancel, and now we end up with, over here we end up with n times 20.1 divided by 100. Okay, that's this equal right here. So now what do? We're going to carry this on. We're going to multiply both sides. Okay, I got to get this over as a 717. We got to multiply both sides by 100. So carrying it up to here, we're going to have 100 times n times 20.1 over 100. Okay, so we know these numbers. That's coming from this piece right in here. When we're going to multiply by the 100 now, is equal to 717 times 100. Because we have to do the 100. Both sides need to be multiplied by 100. Okay, now that we've done that, we have to divide both. Well, let's carry this math out. So now the hundreds cancel, and we have n times 20.1 is equal to 717 times 100. And what else did I do then? Let's see, this is carried, cancel out. Okay, we're there. So now we have to divide both sides by the 20.1. So 20.1 times n over 20.1. So to get rid of the 20.1 here on this side, we have to divide or multiply by the reciprocal. So it's equal to 717 times 100 times, I'll do it this way. I see times 1 over 20.1. So that's the reciprocal. And when you carry this out, the n is equal to 717 times 100 divided by 20.1. So that means n is equal to, if you carry it out, this is 71,700 divided by 20. So it's going to be a pretty large number. And that number is, with the calculator, 3,567. There were 3,567 drive-in screens in 1980. And in the year 2000, that number had fallen all the way to 717. That's a big drop off. Big drop off. So there's the answer. If you didn't get this, read it over a couple times, rewind the video, keep trying, just watch it. You can go back a few screens and watch them again. That's the beauty of having the internet here, and we can just keep watching these videos. Okay, thank you.